Hi everyone, welcome. Today we are going to talk about one of the best and sometimes a very stressful day of the cruise. Now, we were most recently on Utopia of the Seas, which leaves out of Port Canaveral. So I'm going to take you along today on our embarkation and the process and kind of give you some tips to hopefully make your embarkation go as smoothly as possible. We're also going to do a quick room tour. We had a inside balcony cabin, which we'll talk about a little bit more later, and take a tour around. Before we go much further, I want to introduce myself. My name is Jonna, and here at Blue Coach Travel, we talk about ocean cruising and all things Disney. Now, if that sounds like something that's interesting to you, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and that bell notification so you get notified anytime we upload a new video. Now, the ship that we were on, Utopia of the Seas, was leaving out of Port Canaveral, and we did come down a couple of days early to Florida, and we stayed in Orlando, which is about an hour away from the port. And that's tip number one, to arrive before embarkation day so that you have a little bit of buffer in case there are any weather issues or flight delays, that type of thing. We decided to stay in Orlando, so how we ended up getting to the cruise port is we actually requested an Uber. And we did that in advance. That was already scheduled before we even got onto our flight to get down to Florida, which I think is really awesome thing that you can do with the Uber app these days. Now, there are other different ways that you could get to the port. You could take transportation through the cruise line. That usually requires you to leave from the airport. You could also book other types of private transportation. Since it was just my husband and I, we decided to go with an Uber. The Uber picked us up about 8:45 in the morning, and it took right about an hour to get there. Now, during that time frame when we were sitting in the car, this is tip number two, is to get some of that requirements out of the way. So in years past, muster drills used to happen on the ship, and you would go to your muster station. They would go through demonstrations of what to do in case of an emergency. What they do now is you can actually watch a video. So that is tip number two, is to get that done before you even get to the port. So we had that drive time. It was a perfect time to get it done. It only took a few minutes. There was also a health questionnaire that we had to fill out. It was just a couple of questions, but that portion we got done on our way to Port Canaveral, so we could save some time once we got on the ship. Now, you do still have to report to your muster station, and they are going to verify that you completed that video, and then you're on your way. So it took us about an hour to get to the port from Orlando, and the first people that we saw is the porters. And once you get out into the port area, there is a lot of hustle and bustle going on. So just know that those first people that are going to be asking you questions and trying to get your attention, those are the porters. They're supposed to be there. They are there to take your big luggage, your checked luggage. Now, you want to make sure, this is tip number 3, and this is a big one. So make sure that you have your travel documents with you. They're going to ask you, they did with us, they asked to make sure that we didn't have our travel documents in the bags that we were giving them. But that is not where ours were located. I'll give you what we did. So I had this as a crossbody. Well, It's a belt bag, but I had it on as a crossbody. And this is where I kept our passports. So those are the travel documents that we had, was our passports, and then of course you need to have your boarding pass. Now the boarding pass is in the app, but there's one other thing that I do. Hold on. I also have this folder where I print everything out ahead of time. Now, back in the day, everything used to come with paper, but now everything's electronic. But if something were to happen, your phone doesn't work, you're not getting reception, whatever it might be, to speed things up and not slow down the process, I print out that paper and have it in my carry-on bag just in case. So what I had with me once I left the porter is I had this belt bag that was on me, and then I had my carry-on bag that had my essentials that I needed, medication, this document, and change of clothes, that type of thing. I was just prepared to not get our bags until later in the evening. So once we were done with the porter, then we moved on towards the terminal building. Now there was big groups of people that were in sectioned off areas, and this is going to be the next tip, and that is to make sure that you arrive at your scheduled time. Because what those people were waiting for is because it wasn't their scheduled time to check in yet. So they were waiting actually outside in the parking garage. It was covered, but you're outside. It was warm. So don't come early. Now, we had something called the key, and I'll go into a lot more description of this in future videos, but the key basically gives you some perks, and one of those perks was that we had early embarkation. So because we didn't arrive too early, we were able to skip that line and just go into the cruise terminal. And once in the cruise terminal, the first thing that we did is to go through security. And the security is going to look very, very similar to what you had to do when at the airport. Very similar. You're going to put your bags through the belt to be scanned. You're going to be scanned, and then you're going to pick up your stuff and move along. So basically the same premise as the airport. And once you get through security, that's when you're going to go. In this case, we went upstairs to check in. If there's a line, you'll be standing in line to talk to the next Royal Caribbean employee. We were very lucky. We pretty much got to walk up the stairs and go right to the employee that was able to check our documents. So this is where you need those documents that we talk so much about, making sure that you have, and you're going to show them those passports and that boarding pass, and hopefully everything is good and you're just going to go on your way, which we were. Now you're going to be in the waiting area. And this process from being dropped off about 9:45 to getting through security, going through the check-in process, it was really quick. It doesn't always go this quick, but it really did this last time. It was about 10:15. So, and like I said, this doesn't always happen. And part of that happened because we arrived when we should have, and didn't arrive too early. So we were able to not have to sit and wait for that arrival time. So once we got into, through the checkout process, there was basically different areas that we were assigned to wait. So you had one area for the suite guests. And by the way, this is a bonus for having a suite, is they also had beverages and some snacks that were available. The rest of us, we could get something to drink, but it would be from a vending machine. So keep that in mind. So then there was an area for the key, the guests who had purchased the key, and then the area for everybody else. And what we were doing is waiting for the ship to be cleared from the previous cruise, and that everything was done. The rooms, well, the common areas were ready to go. The rooms might take a little bit longer, but the common areas were ready to go and had been cleared for us to board. Now, we got to board, or the boarding process started about 10:35. So we didn't have to wait very long in that area before we were able to start getting on the ship. And how they released everybody to start boarding was, again, they started with a suite guest, then they started with a guest that had the key, and then to everyone else. So, and then you get to do that very fun, and you've gotten through all of the check-in, security, all of that process. So you've got the fun walk onto the ship. This is where the fun begins. Now, one of the other benefits of the key is that you do get to drop off your personal bag, that smaller bag that you brought onto the ship. You can drop that off to be delivered to your stateroom, so you don't have to carry it around with you. That is done in the main dining room, and that is the first place we went, so we wouldn't have to, lug our bag around. Now, the next benefit of the key is to have lunch in the main dining room, but that starts at around 12 o'clock, and it was still a little bit before that, so we did have some time to kind of explore a little bit. Now, the first thing we wanted to do was make sure that we checked in at our muster station, so that's what we did next. And just to kind of check that off our list, we're done with everything, all of the business part of getting on the ship, and we were ready to just have fun and explore. So we decided to check out one of the newest areas of this particular ship, which is the Pesky Parrot. And we got to sit down, have our traditional, our being my husband and I's traditional embarkation cocktail. And that gave me the opportunity, when we were just sitting down and hanging out, was to get into the app and start scheduling or start making reservations for shows. So sometimes you can get into that before the cruise, and I had tried daily even the night before and couldn't get in. So as soon as I got on the ship, that's what I started doing, is starting making those reservations. We did want to see the production shows that were available. There was an ice skating show. There was a production show in the big theater, and there was also an aqua show, which very, very new to see anything like that, very different than I've ever seen before. So we wanted to make reservations for that. We also were able to snag a reservation for the comedy club as well. Now it was about time for lunch, so we headed back up to the main dining room to have lunch, and that is another benefit of the key, is that embarkation lunch in the dining room. It is a menu that features items from Chop's Grill. So it was a very, very nice lunch, and we enjoyed it quite a bit. So after that, lunch was over. We were able to get into our rooms. So we made our way up to our room, and luckily, not only were our personal items there, which of course they would be, but Also, our luggage was there too. So let's take a quick look at our inside balcony cabin. Now, the first thing you see right when you come in through the door is a nice full-length mirror. That's really nice to be able to check your outfit before heading out for the day. And we flip around, you get to see basically an overview of the room. And we will check out the bathroom first. First thing we see that is really pretty awesome is not my husband getting the bags in, but the shower door. And it's a door instead of a curtain. So that's definitely awesome. And flipping around, you do see that there's a very large mirror that was very well lit. And then also lots of storage off to the side. And a very nice counter area and a sink. The sink was small, but it did the job. And then, of course, storage underneath. And flipping around, get to see the shower once more all the way down to the floor, which the tile was very nice. The ship was very new, so everything was very nice. And walking out, you get the first of 2 closets. Now, this is the bigger one. This was mine. And so there was plenty of room and plenty of hangers. That is a big deal on a cruise ship. But plenty of room to hang my clothes. And then there's a couch with some artwork above that. Next, we move on to the other side of the room where there's a vanity. And underneath the vanity is where you see all of the outlets, or most of the outlets that were in the room. And there was quite a few, even USB ports, which is very, very nice. That's definitely something that you're seeing in newer ships. You might not see in older ships. They did have the dresser area with the mini fridge in there. And this is one place we did have the beverage package, which we get water. So we kept, it was a nice place to keep our water in to keep it cold. The first drawer, there was a hairdryer and Kleenex. The next drawer, that is where you'll see the room service, where you can order room service and hang it outside of your door. And then we flip around to the second closet. This was my husband's. It was a little bit smaller, and we'll see in a minute why. There was a couple of drawers at the bottom, which was really useful and very handy. But as we look inside, there wasn't as much hanging room on this because there's more shelves, including that safe, and more shelves coming down. And because of the 2 drawers underneath, it wasn't quite as long and didn't have as much space at the bottom of the closet as the other one did. Now we go to the bed, and you can either request to have 2 twin beds, or you can have them put together to make that king size bed. They did have a very nice size television. Flat screen flush to the wall. That was very nice. And then the hooks underneath for your lanyard, tote bags, hats, that type of thing. Of course, the window out to the balcony. And on either side of the bed was nightstands with those lamps. Those lamps did have outlets in them. We'll look at it a little closer a little bit later. And there was a telephone. And then storage underneath. And then flipping around, I'm going to try to open the door. Now, these doors are a little bit different. I did have to kind of wrangle with the handle a little bit. You pull it up, and then you can slide it across. So the balcony, I thought, was a really good size. It had the 2 chairs and the table, and we were in the Central Park area. So in most balcony cabins, you're looking out to the ocean. And in this particular cabin category, it was an inside cabin. So you do see cabins on the other side. Something to keep in mind It was a different kind of cabin category that we've had before. But if you're outside or if your window's open, people can see into your cabin. So if you get that kind of category, just that is something to know. Going back into the cabin, here's another look at it, just from the balcony view. It was, like I said, it was a newer ship, so the cabin was very, very nice. Everything was very new, very pretty. The color scheme was very nice. One other thing we got, this was a surprise, I wasn't expecting this, from the key, was that little note, and also just kind of a little fruit bowl basket plate, I guess you would call it. We're going to take another look at what the closet looked like after I put my stuff in it. So I do bring a hamper, did have my shoes at the bottom, was able to hang up what I needed to. One pro tip, make sure to bring a sweater with you, because even though it was warm, it can be cold inside. And here's a look at the side tables and what was included. There was just one outlet, really all I needed for my fan. That's where I held kind of all of my electronics. So that really worked out. This is a look at the bathroom and kind of how it looked once we put our stuff in and put things on the shelves. I had a hanging toiletry bag, and I kind of used that for any toiletries that I didn't have on the counter. And then, of course, they do have shampoo and body wash combo in the shower, but I decided to bring my own. And then this is just a look at the kind of what the view we had of Central Park. And one of the things that I was a little bit worried about was the noise, what it was, if it was going to be noisy in that type of a cabin. And it definitely did hear parts of the activities that were going on, especially from the pool deck area. There was sounds that we heard. So that's something to think about during the day, is that noise was going on. Usually in the evening, really the only thing we had was some music playing, and it was very gentle music. Overall, we've done an ocean cabin before, and it was just kind of nice to have that different view and to kind of be able to do a little people watching. And it was a different view. We really enjoyed it. So that was basically Embarkation. It went pretty quick, pretty easy. It doesn't always happen like that, but we were very lucky, and we kind of tried to follow all those tips that I was talking about earlier, and it really made the process very, very easy. Now we are going to be having more videos coming out talking about the rest of the cruise. This was a 4-day cruise to the Bahamas. We had one stop in Nassau, Bahama. We had a day at sea, and then we had a day at Perfect Day at Coco Cay. So definitely follow along for the rest of the series of these videos to see kind of what the rest of our cruise was like. We'll also do a ship tour that will kind of take us through kind of deck by deck the ship. So stay tuned for that, and make sure that you are hitting that like button, and don't forget to subscribe so you can see those videos that are coming up. And if you would like some help navigating through all of this information and how to have a hopefully as good of embarkation day as we did, we would love to help you plan your next cruise vacation. It's very, very easy to do. Just check out the description box below. There's a link to a complimentary consultation, and that sounds like a lot, but really it's just a phone call. We can either do it via Zoom, or we can just simply talk on the phone, whichever is best for you. That will just give us an opportunity to get to know you, get to know the vacation that you want to do, so that we can help you make your vacation dreams come true. So until next time, have a fabulous day. Bye, everyone.